What if I told you that one of the most untouchable alliances in Love and Hip Hop Atlanta just imploded in real time? What if I told you that the friendship we all swore was ironclad, unshakable, and drama-proof, actually had cracks so deep you could drive a tour bus through them? Yes, you heard that right. Yandy Smith-Harris, queen of keeping it real, just dropped a bomb so explosive it left Rasheeda Frost scrambling and Spice looking like she'd seen a ghost. For years, fans have watched these women ride together through chaos, cameras, and all the shade Atlanta could throw at them. But this season, things got personal, messy, and scandalous in a way that makes everything else on reality TV look like child's play. Allegations, betrayals, whispered secrets, and strategic double crosses. It's all here. And the kicker: the fallout isn't just limited to whispers behind the scenes. No, this one is shaking up reputations, friendships, and possibly even careers. So grab your popcorn, lean in, and hold on to your screens, because we're about to unpack a betrayal so savage, so jaw-dropping, that the whole LHHATL universe might never recover. Are you ready to see Yandy expose Rasheeda in a way no one saw coming? Let's dive in to really grasp why this betrayal has people losing their minds. We have to pull the curtain back on who is involved and why this scandal is rocking the entire Love and Hip Hop Atlanta universe the way it is. 'Cause on one side you have Yandy Smith-Harris, the woman who has always marketed herself as the unshakable voice of reason. The ride-or-die friend, the business mogul who could juggle reality, TV cameras, motherhood, and a whole non-profit empire while still serving looks on red carpets. And for years, fans believed her to be untouchable when it came to loyalty, the kind of woman who would rather cut ties than ever sell someone out. And on the other side, you have Rasheeda Frost, the Atlanta boutique boss chick, the woman who has been on reality TV long enough to be considered a franchise veteran. Always calm, always collected, always sipping tea like she was somehow above the chaos. But if you look a little closer, if you dig just a little bit behind the glossy image, the cracks start showing. Because let us not pretend that Rasheeda's storyline has always been squeaky clean. We all remember the years when her marriage to Kirk Frost was basically daytime soap opera material, with secret children and side chick revelations popping up like plot twists in a telenovela. And back then, Rasheeda played the role of the composed queen who weathered the storm. But the truth is, her image survived because she knew how to keep the cameras focused on sympathy instead of suspicion. And now here we are in season 13, where the facade is starting to crumble because Yandy, the very person who vouched for her character time and time again, has stepped forward with accusations so explosive that even Spice, the queen of dancehall drama herself, was left in stunned silence. And if Spice is quiet, you know the scandal is real. What makes this unraveling even juicier is that the bond between Yandy and Rasheeda was sold to the fans as one of the most genuine friendships in the cast. Not just a storyline cooked up by producers, but a sisterhood forged over years of late. Night calls, business collaborations, public defenses, and even moments where Yandy put her own reputation on the line to protect Rasheeda. So when Yandy looked into the camera this season and said she felt gutted by the betrayal, it landed differently. Because this was not just gossip about who said what at the club. This was about loyalty, about trust, about the kind of foundation you are not supposed to play with. And the receipts Yandy hinted at suggest that Rasheeda was not only keeping secrets but aligning herself with the very rivals who had spent seasons trying to drag Yandy down. Imagine finding out the person you thought was your sister has been whispering with people you considered enemies. That she was smiling in your face but quietly feeding narratives that made you look shady to the rest of the cast. That she was playing both sides and letting you take hits while she stayed in the good graces of everyone else. That is the kind of cut that does not heal easily. And Yandy's delivery made it clear she was done sugarcoating. When she confronted Rasheeda, the energy in the room shifted instantly. The air was thick enough to choke on. And even the background cast members, who are usually quick to jump into The mess just sat back in shock because this was bigger than petty shade. This was the dismantling of a friendship fans had invested in for years. And while Yandy's voice shook with anger and hurt, Rasheeda stood there with her trademark poker face, insisting she was not betraying anyone but simply protecting her position in a world where alliances shift daily. But if you listened closely to her reasoning, it sounded less like survival and more like excuses. The kind of lines you rehearse when you know the truth will not paint you in a flattering light. And then there was Spice, sitting there wide-eyed like she had just witnessed the world's juiciest plot twist. And the irony is that Spice herself has been at the center of her own share of feuds and fallouts, yet even she seemed rattled by the idea that Rasheeda, the woman she had always pegged as steady and loyal, could be capable of something this underhanded. Viewers at home exploded on social media the moment the episode aired. Timelines lit up with people siding with Yandy, blasting Rasheeda for being a snake, accusing her of faking the sisterhood for years, while others argued that Yandy was exaggerating, twisting the story for sympathy and screen time. Because, let's be honest, this is reality TV and nobody is completely innocent. But whichever side you believe, the reality is that the foundation of this friendship has cracked wide open, and the shockwaves are only just beginning to ripple through the cast. Asterisk. The moment Yandy's words hit the room, it was like a spark igniting gasoline, because suddenly, the whole vibe of the cast shifted, and what was supposed to be just another conversation turned into the kind of confrontation that people will replay for years. And the detail that took it from shocking to downright scandalous was the way Yandy described Rasheeda's behind-the-scenes maneuvering, painting a picture of a woman who was not just quietly talking to rivals, but actively fueling negative narratives, dropping subtle lines in conversations that cast doubt on Yandy's integrity, whispering to certain cast members that Yandy was not as loyal as she claimed, and even worse, suggesting that Yandy's business moves were questionable, which for someone like Yandy is the ultimate insult, because her entire brand rests on the idea that she is not only trustworthy, but also a savvy businesswoman whose word means something. According to the way Yandy laid it out, this was not about one shady moment or a single misunderstanding, but about a pattern, a deliberate series of choices that made her feel like Rasheeda had been quietly undermining her for months, maybe even years. And as she spoke, you could see the shock register on Spice's face, like she had just realized her entire perception of Rasheeda was based on an illusion. The shocking part was not just the betrayal itself, but the fact that Rasheeda had always been the one everyone described as level-headed, the one who stayed out of the messy games, the one who prided herself on loyalty. And now here she was, accused of being the very thing she preached against. Fans immediately took to Twitter with fake screenshots and memes, claiming they had anonymous sources who confirmed Rasheeda had been cozying up to producers in ways that gave her an edge in storylines. Others alleging that she was secretly leaking information to blogs to shape the narrative in her favor. And while none of these so-called receipts have been verified, in the world of reality television, perception often matters more than truth, and the perception right now is that Rasheeda is not as clean as she wants the cameras to believe. There were even whispers of her boutique business being tied into the drama, with accusations that she intentionally undercut one of Yandy's ventures by teaming up with a rival brand. Something that blurred the lines between personal and professional in the ugliest way possible. Imagine not only losing trust in your friend, but also watching her moves start to affect your money and your reputation in the industry. That is the kind of wound that cuts to the bone. And Yandy made it clear that for her, this was not a storyline she was inventing for ratings, but a real life, betrayal that left her questioning everything she thought she knew about Rasheeda. The cameras caught every flicker of emotion, Yandy's voice cracking as she tried to hold back tears while still calling Rasheeda out. Rasheeda's cold insistence that she was just doing what she needed to do to survive in a world where alliances can make or break careers, and Spice sitting there like the audience surrogate, unable to mask the disbelief spreading across her face. Even the other cast members, who usually cannot wait to stir the pot, were unusually quiet, their eyes darting back and forth like they were witnessing the collapse of a pillar that held the group together. Because if Yandy and Rasheeda's bond could crumble like this, then what hope was there for anyone else's friendships? Social media did what it always does, blowing the situation up to nuclear levels with hashtags trending. Fans posting long threads analyzing every past scene where Rasheeda might have thrown subtle shade. Clips being pulled from old seasons to show that maybe the betrayal was brewing for a long time, and even celebrities outside the franchise chiming in with their takes. Some siding with Yandy and calling Rasheeda fake, while others argued that Yandy should have known better than to trust anyone in reality television with her full loyalty. And while fans argued online, insiders claimed the producers were secretly celebrating because this was the kind of raw, unscripted chaos that keeps ratings sky high, the kind of drama that cannot be manufactured no matter how hard you try, and the kind that would ripple through the entire season. But for the women at the center of it, this was no blessing in disguise. This was devastation wrapped in bright lights. And while Rasheeda stood firm on her explanation that she was not betraying anyone but simply maintaining her own peace, Yandy's face said it all. She was not buying it, she was not accepting excuses. And she was not about to let this betrayal be brushed off as just another misunderstanding. The room grew heavier with every passing second. Side conversations bubbled. Nervous laughter broke out in corners. Some cast members looked away while others whispered to each other like they could not believe what they were seeing. And in the midst of it, Spice finally spoke, saying that if Rasheeda could do this to Yandy, then none of them were safe. And that single line landed like a hammer because it confirmed what everyone was already thinking, that the betrayal was bigger than two women. It was a warning sign that shook the entire group to its core. The silence that followed Spice's words was the kind of silence that does not just hang in the air, but sinks into the bones of everyone in the room. Because suddenly this was no longer just about Yandy feeling hurt or Rasheeda trying to defend herself. It was about trust and survival in a circle where trust already feels like an endangered species. And the weight of it pressed down so heavily that even the cameras seemed to slow, catching every twitch of an eyebrow, every nervous glance, every uncomfortable sip of a drink from people who were realizing that the entire dynamic they thought they understood was unraveling in front of them. Yandy sat back, her eyes burning with that mixture of anger and heartbreak that makes it impossible to know whether she is about to cry or about to unleash another round of truth bombs. And when she finally spoke again, the sting in her voice made it clear that she was not here to play victim for the sake of a storyline. She was here to draw a line. Because to her, this betrayal was not some TV-ready conflict to be resolved in a reunion episode. It was a fracture in the foundation of her life that she was not sure could ever be repaired. She recounted moments when she had put her neck out for Rasheeda, times when she had gone against her own better judgment to defend her friend in public. Even when whispers behind the scenes suggested that maybe Rasheeda was not always as transparent as she appeared, and now those choices felt like wasted energy because, in her mind all along, Rasheeda was smiling in her face while planting seeds of doubt about her integrity in other circles. Rasheeda tried again to insist that she was only doing what she had to do to stay neutral, that she was not deliberately trying to harm Yandy. But every word seemed to dig the hole deeper because Yandy was not looking for explanations. She was looking for accountability, and when it did not come, the distance between them became almost physical. Like you could see the friendship peeling away layer by layer right there in front of the cameras. Spice shook her head, her expression a perfect mirror of the viewers at home who were just as floored by the unraveling of two women who had branded themselves as sisters. And the irony was that Spice herself has been accused countless times of being messy or disloyal, yet in this moment she looked like the voice of reason, reminding both women and the rest of the group that loyalty is not supposed to be negotiable. That once trust is broken, it spreads like wildfire, and that everyone watching would now question where their alliances really stood. The fallout from that single conversation was immediate. Not just in the room, but across social media where fans dissected every second, rewound every line, and speculated endlessly about how deep Rasheeda's betrayals might go, with some claiming this was only the tip of the iceberg and that more secrets would spill as the season rolled on. For Yandy, the hurt was not just about friendship, but about reputation. Because in her world, business and personal are intertwined, and the suggestion that she could not be trusted or that her moves were shady hit at the very core of her brand. And that is something she was not willing to let slide. By the time the cameras wrapped, the energy was thick with finality. There were no hugs, no apologies, no promises to fix things later. Only Yandy's silence that spoke louder than words, and Rasheeda's stiff insistence that she had done nothing wrong. And Spice's wide-eyed disbelief lingering like a haunting reminder that sometimes the deepest cuts come from the people you thought would never hold the knife. So, here we are, standing in the ashes of a friendship that once looked unbreakable. And the only question left is, where does this go from here? Because if Yandy and Rasheeda can fall apart this brutally, then what chance does anyone else in Love and Hip Hop? Atlanta Circle really have? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of the show? Because we all know when bonds crack this deep, the ripple effect touches everybody. Was Yandy right to expose it all on camera? Or was Rasheeda just playing the kind of survival game that reality TV demands? And what about Spice, caught in the middle and realizing that loyalty in this group might be nothing more than an illusion? Will she choose a side, or will she be forced to question all of her friendships moving forward? These are the questions that keep fans glued to their screens. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think Yandy overreacted? Do you think Rasheeda's explanation holds water? Or do you believe this was betrayal, pure and simple? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is nowhere near finished. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe so you do not miss the next bombshell.